From a psychological operation standpoint, there is an absolutely fascinating dynamic happening in America right now. A narrative is being rewritten right before our eyes, and nobody is acknowledging it. People are talking about the specifics of it, but nobody is taking the helicopter view of how things have so radically changed just in the last 25 to 30 years. But when we look at it through the lens of history, we can see that it lines up perfectly. The winners write the history books. And in this video, I'm going to break this down, and it's probably going to hurt some feelings, but it's going to wake some people up if you're honest. The people who have begun resisting tyranny is not who we were told they would be. We were assured for the last 20 years or so, 25 years, it would be the right firing the first shots, getting together and having all of their weapons and all of their stockpiles ready to go for the next civil war. Guess what? It's not. It's another group of people standing up to resist tyranny. And I think it's part of the reason the right is so angry right now, because they really know it in their heart of hearts that the person in charge of the United States right now is a tyrant, and they're feeling like a fool, but they don't know how to get out of this without egg on their face. You see, they cried tyrant, tyrant, tyrant back during Obama, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, but then Obama left power peacefully and disappeared for quite some time, truly. And they're just left holding all of their videos and all of their prepper supplies and thinking, gosh, what do we do now? They put an actual tyrant in power, a man who says federal agents don't need search warrants, and they start to make excuses, and they put their hands in their pockets and shuffle their feet and get angry and start, talking about Antifa and all this kind of stuff. We do a full and complete gloves off breakdown on this over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. Breaking news alert. We have a brand new video up over there that just posted yesterday. And believe me, it's something you're going to want to see. It's not for everybody over there, because a lot of people over the last 20 years have gotten very used to having their feelings stroked and coddled, finding all of the voices that agree with the ones in their heads, and then making that out to be some kind of evidence that that's reality when it's not. We're seeing reality before our eyes right now. If you'd like to join us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, would love to have you over there. Absolutely. We have 4 levels. We got tons of content for the Maquis foot soldiers, the lowest level. Then the next step up, need to know roundtable. And then the unit commanders above that. And then finally the top level, the brigade commanders. All sorts of content going all the way back to 2018. And the best part is fully refundable. Fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. It will be Christmas. It will be Christmas before you would have to risk losing any money if you signed up now. So once again, God bless. Thank you so much for being over there. Everyone who already is, I've said this before and recently, there would be no Florida Maquis on YouTube if there wasn't a Florida Maquis Patreon channel right now. So all of you who are over there and participating in the content, God bless every single one of you. Let's get right to it, though. You see, we've got these guys now that there's a certain narrative being written about them. I don't believe for 1 minute this Tyler kid did what they said. The evidence is against it. But then we've got this guy out in Dallas, this Joshua John, who has somewhat of a criminal record and decided to shoot up an ICE facility. And then we got Luigi Mangione, who's getting all sorts of fan mail and tons of support. The guy that took out that healthcare CEO. And then, of course, these two individuals, the guy on the right's no longer with us. The guy on the left just recently found guilty. You see, right now the narrative is, oh, they're traitors. Oh, they're traitors. And guess who else were traitors? For the vast majority of the beginning of the revolution. That's right. Your heroes, the founding fathers. They were all seditionist traitors. How many of you knew there was an actual British Bill of Rights that the British citizens had? That's right. The U.S. didn't invent the concept of the Bill of Rights. There was a Bill of Rights that had existed for 100 years in Great Britain. In fact, it was the basis for these revolutionaries to start taking pot shots at what were at the time British security forces in the New World. Not the British Army. British security forces were here. And the vast majority of the wins that this ragtag group of what would have been called Antifa terrorists was attributed to the fact that they were dealing basically with, with MPs, military police. But when the actual British Army showed up, they got their ass kicked. And here's the part that a lot of questions that a lot of founding fathers quoters don't like to ask. See this guy here? He knew something. He knew there was going to be no country unless he asked this guy for help. George Washington and King Louis of France were great friends, and there are all sorts of letters that you can go read for yourself between the two. George Washington imploring the King of France to help him deal with the King of England. But if George Washington were truly against the concept of a king, wouldn't that make him a bit of a hypocrite? You see, the winners write the history books. The winners write the history books. And these guys put together a constitution in 1776, 1777, when the war was over, but it took them 13 years. 13 years, 1789, to get it ratified. That's over 3 presidential terms in our term. Imagine a revolution that had happened in 2008, only now being ratified on paper. Imagine that. How many of you remember the scene from The Patriot, where Benjamin Martin and his son, I think it's Heath Ledger, that played his son. These men, they're not the sort we need. They're out recruiting, and they're finding some very kind of seedy characters. And his father turns to him, having fought in the French and Indian Wars, saying, "No, son, they're exactly the sort we need." Those of you who are saying that these people, these Luigi Mancionis, are not representative of America, they're exactly representative of the people that freed this country. You see, the colonists were angry over being overtaxed to pay for the French and Indian War. Well, what was the French and Indian War? It was Great Britain protecting their citizens against foreign powers. They just didn't feel like they had to pay for that. But isn't that what is being insisted on by the right now? They want all of these quote-unquote foreigners expelled from quote-unquote our land. They want the federal government to step up and foot the bill for repatriating people back to where they came from, but they don't want to pay for it. Look up the rights of British citizens, the British Bill of Rights, and you'll find some very strange things. A lot of people love to quote people like Thomas Jefferson. The end of democracy and the defeat of the American Revolution will occur when government falls into the hands of lending institutions and moneyed in corporations. This was said in 1816. That's important. See, this is a full, let's see, 27 years? 27 years after the Constitution was signed. See, that was a long time back then. That was half of a man's life back then. 27 years, and he's still talking about the American Revolution being defeated. Because that's the direction it went, because that's what won the war. Make no mistake. It was King Louis's money that won the war. Not gun rights, not the Second Amendment, none of that. And those of you out there who still don't believe we have a tyrant in charge of this country. Look up the quote, "No search warrants are needed for federal agents," Donald Trump. This was the basic fundamental underpinning of all gun content on YouTube for probably at least 10 to 12 years. Federal agents without warrants coming in and taking your guns. How many people think they could sum up videos, entire video channels, based on that one statement? Federal agents are on their way without warrants, and they're just going to come seize your guns. How many of you remember when I talked about Colony a couple years ago? The series Colony, not The Colony, just Colony. Carlton Cuse. Look it up. It's easy to get. You can buy the DVDs on Amazon if you want to watch it that way. I don't know where it's streaming right now. Should be pretty easy to find. See, they had a group of red hats there as well that hid their faces, that made it a patriotic thing for you to go join them, just like we have with ICE now. And they, without warrants, went and grabbed and swooped up people and just disappeared them, just like what is going on now. If what you're doing requires hiding your identity, breaking laws, ignoring court orders, and defying the Constitution, then you're the bad guys. It's not law enforcement, it's state-sponsored kidnapping. And it will be, ironically so, the basis for the coming gun bans. It's already starting now with the right. The right is already saying, because they're too chicken shit to fight back. They're too chicken shit to fight back, even though they're the ones that have been, clamoring on and on and on about their guns for so long. They won't fight back. They won't fight tyranny. They're enjoying tyranny as long as it's on behalf of somebody that kind of looks like them. But make no mistake, this is coming. They're already talking about taking gun rights away from certain groups of people. Even though there are people out there that said, shall not be infringed, shall not be infringed. Under no circumstances shall it be infringed. Oh, unless it's left-wing, trans, Antifa, blah. That's how it starts. That's how it starts from the guy that, of course, would have loved to have forced a jab into your arm if it had been up to him. Biden might have been the best thing that ever happened. He didn't have the guts or the wherewithal to enforce a mandatory jab, but strange first year right out of the gate. Mr. Trump meets with Bill Gates. Oh, and that client list you thought you were going to see from Epstein? Nah, Epstein's been forgiven. Epstein, Maxwell, it's all a big hoax. All a big hoax put forth by the guy that on numerous occasions went one-on-one with his 20-something-year-old daughter to the Playboy Mansion, having her dressed in nightwear along with all of the other models to hang out there. Handed her over at 13 years old to John Casablancas and had her pose in all sorts of states of undress from the time she was 13 to the time that she was 18, 19, 20, could make her own decisions. And then from that point on, it was just her, the money, and the cocaine. This is who's in charge right now. Just like the children of Epstein Island. People are going to forget. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Remember the whole kiss cam thing? How many of you saw the recent update? See the woman here? She was already separated from her husband. They were living separately. And the guy, well, some people say it's more about their reaction than what was really going on. But if this was a court of law, it's funny how people will react to this guy and want to absolutely fillet him. They both had to resign from their positions at work. The woman has gotten hundreds of death threats for having an affair. Death threats for having an affair. Think about that for just a minute. You see, people, believe it or not, have their own standards for what a good and bad relationship is. Just like with groups of people and their government. There was a huge portion of the United States that was perfectly fine with the British government. That relationship was what it was. To us now, we might not agree with that, but at that time, that relationship worked for them. Did it not? Well, let's think about this from Mr. Trump's perspective. Remember all the allegations of Mr. Trump and having affairs and all this kind of stuff? What if that was part of the relationship? See, there's people out there that want to impose what they believe a marriage should be on everyone else, even though they've secularized it to the point that it's no longer recognizable as a Christian institution. There are people that want to make believe in their mind that what they see as marriage should be marriage for all. But what do we know is true? Anyone who's ever been in a long-term relationship. You see, you have the relationship that you had before the marriage, then right after the marriage, and then the relationship got real. Then it had to develop, and it had to morph, and it had to change. See, just like here in this country, our relationship with our government is much like the relationship that we would have with a spouse. Over the years, modifications occur in order to keep it working and keep it together. How many of you is that true? I knew a couple that, and it's anecdotal evidence, take it for what it is. 2 weeks a year, they went on separate vacations, and basically all bets were off for those 2 weeks. And between them, the only definition of cheating was, one, lying about your whereabouts and what you were doing is number one. Number two, any activity that could result in a child. Nothing else did they consider cheating. And they were married for many, many, many years. How are grocery prices working out for you under capitalism? Just checking. How are gas prices working out for you? How are property taxes working out for you? How are taxes of all kinds everywhere? You see, the president said, we'll never be a socialist country as long as he's president. Well, I'm sure the King of England said much the same thing. You see, it's not up to the president, is it? I thought we lived in a country where the people were in charge, where the people would decide whether we were socialist, whether we were capitalist, whether we were anything else. It's not up to him. That's not his role as president of the United States, to tell the American people what they are and what they're not going to be. Just like no one can tell any married couple. The vows do say, if I'm not mistaken, let no man come between, let no man put asunder. Whatever that bond might be. Very strangely, the people in Venezuela are now arming up. You know, these hardcore leftists, these horrible leftists, these terrible, evil, horrible socialists. They're arming up and readying for a fight. While the U.S. government is talking about taking the gun rights away of certain groups of people, the government in Venezuela is handing out guns and teaching their people to use weapons in case of the United States losing their mind. Washington, D.C. And just for the record, Venezuela economy surges 9% growth and double tax revenue in 2024 and the lowest inflation in 20 years. Please explain. They're still socialists. Please explain what has changed. I'll tell you what's changed. They no longer consider the relationship with the United States of value. And it took them some years to create other alliances with other people and other systems. So, just saying, I know we went down quite a path here. But make no mistake, these people in their circle are heroes. And very ironically, they're the ones who have had the guts to pick up a gun and fight against tyranny, or even what they perceived to be tyranny, when it was the right who was saying it was going to be them. It was going to be them. We're going to pick up. We're going to do it. Not a peep. Just whining complaints from the right. The boo-hoo-hoo. Oh no, somebody used a gun to fight back against tyranny, to fight back against government overreach, and it wasn't us. Join us. Florida Marquee Patreon channel. Love to have you over there. Like I said, 4 levels, content, hundreds and hundreds of videos. And once again, no risk, 90 days. No risk from now until Christmas. If you go over there for 6 weeks and it's not for you, you can go into a DM over there and say, Florida Marquee, gave you a shot, liked it for a minute. I think I'm going to cancel now. Can I get my full refund? Absolutely. Not a problem. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.